The luxury fashion industry is crumbling, and some of the biggest names you've trusted for decades are quietly panicking behind their polished storefronts. Why? Because their strategy of jacking up prices year after year while cutting quality has finally backfired in the most spectacular way possible. For years, these elite brands convinced us that a simple logo or a heritage name justified price tags that could fund a small vacation. But consumers are waking up, wallets are closing, and the empire of overpriced leather goods and logo-stamped accessories is facing a reckoning that nobody saw coming. This isn't just about economic downturns or shifting trends. This is about brands that got greedy, lost touch with reality, and are now watching their sales plummet while their executives scramble for answers. Today, we are counting down 15 luxury brands that are seriously struggling right now. And trust me, some of these names will shock you because they've been considered untouchable for generations. Burberry. Burberry has become the poster child for luxury brand failure in recent years. Sales have dropped dramatically, and their stock price has tumbled to levels not seen in over a decade. The British heritage brand made the catastrophic mistake of destroying millions of dollars worth of unsold merchandise to maintain exclusivity, sparking public outrage when people found out they were literally burning clothes while homeless shelters begged for donations. Burberry's iconic check pattern, once a symbol of British sophistication, became so overused and counterfeited that it lost all prestige, and their attempts to reinvent themselves with modern designs alienated loyal customers while failing to attract younger buyers. Burberry raised prices aggressively during the pandemic, assuming customers would pay anything for the name. But instead, people just stopped buying altogether. The brand recently reported a $99 million loss and had to suspend dividend payments, proving that even a 168-year-old company can collapse when it forgets to respect its customers. Mulberry. Mulberry, the beloved British handbag maker, is hemorrhaging money so fast that industry insiders are questioning whether it can survive another year without a major bailout or acquisition. Their signature Bayswater bag, once representing accessible luxury, now costs over $2,000 for essentially the same product with no improvement in quality or craftsmanship. Sales in Asia have collapsed by over 30%, and their attempt to compete with Hermès and Chanel by dramatically increasing prices backfired. Consumers aren't going to pay Birkin prices for a brand that doesn't have Birkin prestige. Mulberry has been burning through cash reserves, closing stores, and the CEO recently admitted they misjudged customer willingness to pay premium prices during an economic crisis. It's a sad irony that Mulberry moved some production away from English factories to cut costs while simultaneously raising retail prices, destroying the very craftsmanship narrative they built their reputation on. Coach. Coach, despite being owned by the massive Tapestry Corporation, is watching its relevance fade. Younger consumers now see it as their mother's handbag brand, not something desirable or aspirational. Coach flooded outlet malls and discount retailers so aggressively that full-price purchases now feel like a scam. Coach tried to elevate its image by raising prices dramatically, but consumers refuse to pay luxury prices for a brand that's perpetually on sale. Their collaboration overload with celebrities and designers feels desperate rather than exclusive, and the quality of their leather goods has noticeably declined. Market research shows that Coach has a serious perception problem among millennials and Gen Z. They'd rather buy vintage designer pieces or invest in truly high-end brands than settle for something they consider middle tier, trying too hard to be luxury. Salvatore Ferragamo. Ferragamo is in full-blown identity crisis mode. Once worn by Hollywood legends and royalty, the Italian shoemaker has seen its reputation deteriorate as quality complaints mount and shoes fall apart within months, despite price tags exceeding $1,000. Ferragamo made the baffling decision to discontinue beloved classic styles in favor of trendy designs that no one asked for, alienating their loyal customer base. Their revenue dropped by 11% and profits have been crushed by discounting as unsold inventory piles up. The brand's revolving creative director carousel hasn't helped either. It's created a disjointed aesthetic that lacks coherence or vision, making Ferragamo feel like a luxury brand that's forgotten what made it luxurious in the first place. Michael Kors. Michael Kors is the cautionary tale of brand dilution. The brand was everywhere in the early 2010s, but that ubiquity became its downfall. Consumers realized that exclusivity is impossible when everyone from soccer moms to college students is carrying the same logo bag. Michael Kors tried to reverse course by raising prices and reducing outlet presence, but the damage was done. Sales have been declining for years, and the brand's parent company, Capri Holdings, reported devastating losses. The controversial truth is that Michael Kors built an empire on aspirational luxury, convincing middle-class consumers they could afford designer style. But once the aspiration wore off, people realized they were just buying overpriced accessories, and the business model collapsed. Hugo Boss. Hugo Boss is struggling to maintain relevance in today's fashion landscape. Their focus on menswear feels outdated in an industry that values diversity, inclusivity, and breaking traditional gender norms. The German brand raised prices significantly over the past 5 years, but quality hasn't improved proportionally, and customers are finding better value elsewhere. Their attempts to modernize with streetwear-inspired collections feel forced, like a corporate boardroom's idea of what young people want, rather than genuine fashion innovation. Sales have been sluggish across Europe and North America, and while the brand remains profitable, growth has stalled completely. 9. Versace. Versace has lost much of its cultural cachet since being acquired by Capri Holdings. The brand that Gianni Versace built on craftsmanship, innovation, and celebrity glamour now feels like it's coasting on past glory. The iconic Medusa logo that once represented dangerous glamour now appears on everything from cheap collaborations to home goods, diluting the brand's equity. Versace's pricing seems disconnected from the actual value delivered, with quality issues plaguing garments that cost thousands of dollars. The Medusa logo has become a symbol of something overexposed, not exclusive, and Versace is struggling to maintain its position as a luxury brand in today's market. 8. Dolce & Gabbana. Dolce & Gabbana has destroyed years of brand equity with a series of catastrophic PR disasters, racist marketing campaigns, and tone-deaf statements. The Italian duo's infamous China campaign led to boycotts, canceled fashion shows, and devastating sales losses. Their prices have continued climbing despite the reputation damage, with basic t-shirts costing over $800 and dresses exceeding $5,000. Yet, the quality doesn't justify these astronomical figures when compared to competitors. While they still have loyal customers, the pool is shrinking as younger consumers choose brands that align better with their values. Balenciaga. Balenciaga committed brand suicide with their disturbing child advertising campaign that featured children holding teddy bears in bondage gear. This caused immediate global outrage and calls for boycotts that the brand still hasn't fully recovered from. The scandal exposed either catastrophic incompetence in their creative approval process or something far more sinister. And either way, parents and concerned consumers began questioning whether they wanted to support a brand capable of such judgment failures. Balenciaga's prices were already controversial before the scandal, with distressed sneakers costing over $1,000 and intentionally destroyed hoodies priced at $2,000, making customers feel like they were the butt of a joke rather than valued clients. The brand's apology felt hollow and corporate, and while the creative director kept his job, the whole incident exposed the dark side of shock value marketing taken too far. Retail data shows Balenciaga merchandise is moving slower and requiring more discounting than before the scandal, proving that even in fashion, there are lines you shouldn't cross. regardless of how edgy you're trying to be.
Canada Goose. Canada Goose built its empire on extreme cold weather performance. But now, they're facing backlash as consumers realize they're paying $1,500 for coats they'll never actually need unless they're Arctic researchers or Antarctic explorers. The brand's massive logo patches turned their jackets into status symbols, but that same visibility made them targets for theft and violence. Reports of robberies and assaults specifically targeting people wearing Canada Goose jackets have surfaced, tarnishing the brand's appeal. Their aggressive pricing strategy assumed customers would always pay premium rates for functional outerwear. But competition from brands like Moncler, Arc'teryx, and even budget alternatives offering similar warmth at a fraction of the cost has eroded their market position. Canada Goose also faced boycotts over their use of real coyote fur and goose down, despite the availability of high-performance synthetic alternatives. The brand eventually caved to pressure and announced fur-free production. The controversial truth is that Canada Goose coats became more about displaying wealth than actual performance needs. And as consumers become more conscious about conspicuous consumption and ethical concerns, the brand's appeal is rapidly diminishing. Gucci. Gucci experienced explosive growth under Alessandro Michele's maximalist creative direction. But now it's suffering a painful correction as sales decline, and the brand realizes it expanded too quickly and priced too aggressively. The iconic double G logo that Alessandro revitalized became so oversaturated that it lost its luxury appeal, appearing on everything from $1,000 loafers to cheap-looking belt packs that felt more tacky than sophisticated. Gucci raised prices repeatedly during their hot streak, with handbags that cost $2,000 in 2015 now priced at $4,000 for essentially the same product. Customers are finally pushing back against this pricing insanity. Gucci's revenue dropped by 14% in recent quarters, and their new creative director faces the impossible task of refreshing Gucci's image without alienating existing customers or losing the momentum Alessandro built. What's particularly concerning for their parent company Kering is that Gucci represents the majority of their luxury portfolio's profits. So Gucci's struggles threaten the entire corporate structure and have sent stock prices tumbling. Prada. Prada spent decades trying to convince consumers that nylon backpacks and simple leather goods justified luxury price tags, but that strategy is finally failing. People are questioning why they're paying $2,000 for industrial fabric. The Italian brand's minimalist aesthetic, once considered sophisticated and intellectual, now feels dated and boring compared to more exciting contemporary luxury brands that offer better value propositions. Prada's sales growth has stagnated in key markets, and their attempts to appeal to younger consumers through collaborations with brands like Adidas feel desperate rather than innovative or exciting. The brand's pricing has increased dramatically, with their iconic nylon bags now costing triple what they did 15 years ago. Despite being made from the same materials with no apparent quality improvements, Prada's controversial decision to focus heavily on logo-free designs meant they missed out on the logomania trend that competitors capitalized on. Now, they're struggling to define what makes Prada worth the premium when competitors offer more exciting products at similar or lower prices. Dior. Dior has become a victim of its own success. The brand's ubiquity and aggressive licensing deals have diluted the exclusivity that luxury consumers actually pay for when buying high-end fashion. The iconic Lady Dior handbag, once carried by Princess Diana and representing pinnacle elegance, now costs over $6,000 for the basic version, with exotic skin versions exceeding $30,000 for a bag that's essentially become a logo flex rather than timeless elegance. Dior's beauty and fragrance lines are so mass market that the brand struggles to maintain luxury positioning when their products sit next to drugstore cosmetics in department stores worldwide. While Dior remains profitable within LVMH's portfolio, growth has slowed considerably. There are serious questions about whether the brand can justify continued price increases when quality concerns and over-distribution have damaged the prestige that once made Dior untouchable. Chanel committed the ultimate luxury brand sin by raising prices so aggressively and repeatedly that even their wealthiest loyal customers began publicly complaining about being priced out of a brand they've supported for decades. The classic Chanel flap bag, which cost around $4,900 in 2019, now exceeds $10,000 for the exact same bag, with no improvements in quality, materials, or craftsmanship. Chanel's explanation that price increases reflect increased cost and exclusivity rings hollow when customers notice declining quality control with loose stitching, uneven quilting, and hardware issues plaguing bags that cost more than many people's monthly rent. The brand's decision to restrict purchases and ban resellers while simultaneously raising prices feels like punishing customers rather than rewarding loyalty. Wealthy shoppers are responding by diversifying their luxury purchases rather than remaining devoted to Chanel.
What makes Chanel's situation particularly controversial is that, unlike publicly traded luxury conglomerates, they are privately owned by the reclusive Wertheimer family, meaning they answer to nobody but themselves and seem unconcerned about customer backlash as long as profits remain high despite declining sales volume. Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton has spent over a century building prestige and exclusivity. But their current strategy of plastering monogram canvas on everything while charging increasingly insane prices has created a backlash that threatens their position as the world's most valuable luxury brand. The iconic LV monogram that once represented sophisticated travel luxury now appears on so many products, from basic tote bags to designer collaborations, that it's lost the exclusivity factor that luxury consumers actually pay for. Louis Vuitton's quality has noticeably declined over the past decade, according to longtime customers. Canvas bags costing $2,000 show wear and cracking far faster than vintage pieces that have survived decades of use. The brand raised prices dramatically during the pandemic, when they had captive customers and limited competition from travel retail. But now that the world has reopened, consumers are realizing they have options and don't need to tolerate being treated like infinite money sources. Louis Vuitton's controversial collaboration strategy has gone from exciting partnerships with artists like Stephen Sprouse and Takashi Murakami to feeling like desperate attempts to remain relevant with every celebrity and streetwear brand imaginable. The most damning evidence of Louis Vuitton's struggles is that despite record revenues, actual unit sales are declining. They're selling fewer products at much higher prices to a shrinking pool of wealthy customers, while losing the aspirational middle market consumers who once saved for months to buy their first LV piece. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into fashion, business, and consumer trends that affect your wallet and wardrobe. See you in next one.